So a second try. It is what it is, right? We are back. Oh yeah, Cosmoverse. I started the stream earlier, but my network, one of my nets, is just, I don't know what it is. It doesn't want to stream correctly. For some reason, it makes it really laggy, which I don't understand at all. Yeah, so I went back to the lovely little Facebook group called Colorful Space. They always post a lot of, I think, like Korean or Asian photographers' work, and a lot of them have very, I mean, there's a lot of like reclining women in like suggestive outfits and stuff. That's like the classic, like pretty girl photos. But what I find that really separates a lot of the work there is that there's a lot of attention to color and light, which is really cool. They have really good framings, and some are a little bit, you can't show them on stream, but regardless, it's some beautiful photos. Hey, Captain Pulse, how's it going? Pulse. So we're gonna do this study today. It'll be fun, I think. It'll be fun. I hope everyone had a good weekend. My weekend kind of just flew by. I had no control whatsoever. It just disappeared. I won't do her in 3D. That will be a cool study. That's something we should try. But I feel like let's go back. 3D in all its glory. Let's just go back to classic studying. We can't forget the good old 2D, even though we're having fun with the 3D. Because in the end, that's how I have my fun. 2D. And it's good to do 3D. It's good to supplement. But let's not neglect our first love. That's interesting. Huh. Hi Gria, how's it going? Midslurp, what's up? Zialin, good morning. Francia, how's it going? Welcome back. Francia, yeah, exactly. Return to photo reference. I think it's the whole idea about venturing into 3D is to supplement the thinking, right? You don't want to stagnate in the way you're thinking. So by going into 3D a bit, you refresh your mind. You think about things differently.
Oh
yeah. Hey Gria, 20 months, crazy. You are by far, I think, one of those that have the longest subscription. Well, thank you very much, Gria. I truly appreciate it. That's crazy. 2-year badge. That would be something. Mad respect. So, the study I think I'll try to do is the relationship between things, the relationship between colors mostly. I'm really a really fan of the reference, and really fan of the shapes, and I'm gonna not draw her up. I'm gonna try to get the major shapes down first, which I'm kind of failing at. Let's make it a little bit easier to compare. She has to be further down. That should be like down there. Good thing it's on separate layers, eh? And then I will adjust. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hey, the Mind Waker, how's it going? Let's flip. Something more like that. Yeah, but like I said, 3D is really good fun. I think it's really important to practice. If you want to be a really strong concept artist, I would say if you learn 3D, or at least the basics of it, at least like getting a good grasp of how 3D works, what you should keep in mind, and how using 3D can either aid or ruin something. Just get to that point. I would say maybe 6 months of 3D. Playing around with 3D mostly. Like if it would be your main thing for half a year, I think you'd come out of it a significantly better concept artist. And I think the reason why would be the fact that you learn three-dimensional thinking in a completely different way than you would if you didn't. I'd say that like the biggest takeaway from learning 3D and understanding 3D is the three-dimensional thinking, the volumes, how shapes connect to each other. Hey Shasta, how's it going? By that I mean how do I mean it? I mean it in the way of, let's say you're designing a head. So you're drawing it from the front. It looks good from the front. But if you would rotate the camera, the design in the depth-wise wouldn't make that much sense. It wouldn't be that great, you know. Because there are possibly, let's say hypothetically, there are lines that look good from the front, but seen from the side, they don't connect correctly, or they don't look good, and the profile view isn't strong enough. Akagria. Well, thank you very much, and I'm glad that you feel that way. That was one of the goals that I intended to do with it, to help us become better, to help um, people to um, grow with each other rather than me dictating what everyone has to do. I'd rather have a. I wanted a community that helped each other, you know, and I do believe that we do that, and I'm really proud of that fact that we are quite a nice uh, group of people that are definitely supportive and helping out, growing, and welcoming new faces. And I really enjoyed lately. There's been a lot of discussions, and these discussions have always been always been even though you guys don't agree with each other, you've always argued the points and not taking it personally, and you know, argued incorrectly. I really enjoyed that, reading that. Hey, Amir, how's it going? Zialin. That's really good. That's really good. And by the way, I'm really cool to see your entry for Alex Heath's splash art challenge. Really cool to see. There's some major flaws in there, though. I would say that um, could have improved the image significantly. Oh, come on. Dumpster fire? I wouldn't say dumpster fire. Um, but there are some fundamental things I think you forgot. Um, one of the reasons uh, I can tell you straight away why it. Um, I know why it might not have ended up the way you wanted it, because you had to compromise your composition dramatically, and you didn't take the time to redraw it correctly. So what happened was, I'm assuming Alex gave you feedback saying, "Oh, you should improve the focal point or whatever, whatever. Do these changes," and you did the changes, but you didn't do the changes from the ground up. That you try to adapt the image, and always when you do that, um, you will always compromise the kind of structural integrity, the subtleties that make the image as it was, why it worked, because you're changing major aspects of it. Um, you're diluting that balance, and by diluting that balance, you're lessening the impact. So you're trying to kind of like make it work, where in reality, what you should have done is scrapped it and redone it, and not tried to save it. It sucks to hear and it sucks to do, but unless you redo major changes, or you are aware of what needs to change to the amount that you need to change, then you will always compromise the image when you need to do edits to a composition. So like a general rule is, if someone client tells you to alter a composition with minor changes, always consider what that does to the image, and do you need to rework major parts of the image in order to make the image read correctly. But what elements do you need to alter? And sometimes you got to alter massive amount. Sometimes the client's feedback saying, "Oh, we need this item over here," or things like that. You have to always understand what they're asking and how do you implement it. So it's almost like they're saying, "Yeah, we need these things." Unless it's a very specific location, it's up to you to make it work, right? You're the creator. So it's a bit, so it's really tricky, and you have to have the practice understanding, like when you do changes, what are they, how are they implemented, where are they needed, what can you say, what can't you say. And that's a little bit of something you can't really teach, because it's so ingrained with your process and so ingrained with your aesthetics. But there's always ways to, someone can instruct you about it, you know, by saying, you did these changes, they don't work because of XYZ, you know. It's way too dark. A bit better. Zealand. Yeah, I agree. But what you should consider, next time you paint a painting illustration, and you're just going with it, right? You're going with the flow. Zealand. Scrapping it, yeah, for sure. So let me explain it like this. Next time when you make an illustration, count count the changes you need to do on the image to make the image work. You know, like repainting, or at least be aware of when you need to redo an area, how many times you repaint the same space. You know, like now I'm going over the throat one more time, you know, trying to making the throat area work. So I'm adjusting the paint, I'm adjusting the colors, I'm reworking, right? Just pay attention next time on how many times you have to do that to your painting, and then add edit to it. Let's say you get feedback saying, "Oh, please, can you change, you know, the pose dramatically, or add this, and this doesn't work, fix this," and then you have to alter something, right? And then you alter and alter and alter. So the idea, what I'm trying to make is if you pay attention to all that fixing you're doing, versus you then do another version where you don't move forward to color, you don't move forward anywhere until the foundation that you have is strong enough to warrant or to be valid to move forward with. So you have an internal checklist, right? An internal checklist of the steps you need to do, the steps you need to nail, like value, composition, all these things, right? And sometimes when you try to fix a composition with value, you know, in the thumbnail stage, you might need to redo the thumbnail completely because you didn't make it work. So you scrap it, and then you redo it, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and you lay the foundation so strong that when you're moving forward with that foundation, it's going to require a lot less work to make it work. Versus you build your house on sand, right? And that the ground is constantly going to shift, and walls are going to crack and all this, and you have to go back and go back and go back and fix, rather than super solid foundation. Then it doesn't matter what you do to it, right? It's gonna stay there. It's just the same principle. Like, don't move forward until you've nailed the foundation, because when you have a solid foundation, it is going to be a dramatic difference moving forward. And that's why, for example, doing certain compromises in a composition will change the foundation of the building completely, and you're going to start having a shaky base. So what you got to do is you got to go back and alter the foundation enough. You might need to repaint complete areas, or you might need to just delete or restart, or depending on what is required and what is breaking, it's gonna take, you're gonna be almost like offended having to do the edit you know, to restart or change something so dramatically, but it's gonna be worth it in the end, because you're gonna have a much stronger base, much more lively painting, not overworked, all these aspects. And it's a skill that you have to practice. Hey, Vrox, have a great day. So, for example, on this, my study here, it's horribly off in terms of proportionally. But I mean, I could save it by liquefying, for example. The changes required aren't that massive that it warrants me to restart fully, right? I can make it work by rather economically light means, right? It doesn't cost me a lot to do these changes, which is good, which is okay, because I haven't. The reason is because I haven't pushed the image that far yet. I would say I'm still constructing the base of the painting. If this would be the painting, I'm still at a thumbnail stage where I'm looking at composition, where I'm looking at color correlations, like constructing a palette and things like that. I wouldn't start pushing this illustration yet. I would still keep it loose. I would still play around with colors and edges and things like that, and knowing that if I'm going to paint this, if I'm going to push this further as an illustration, I have to lay the foundation correctly, so that I know, like, okay, I'm going to up the saturation, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that to the shapes, brushwork, so that I know that, okay, it's going to look ugly for a while until I lay the right moves down, and then when I put the moves down, it's going to make sense, but it's going to be ugly for a long time. And that's the kind of thing you have to understand. Like, when you're doing an illustration, it shouldn't look great from start to finish. It should look horrible for a while, because you layer the image up to where it makes sense. Hey, Ice Day, how's it going? So long story short, I recognized a lot of the struggles in your painting, Zilin. It's a common thing we do. A lot of artists do, especially in the beginning when there needs to be edits, and you like the whole I'm trying to save this image mentality comes into play. I'll try to find some time, when I don't know, but I'll try to find some time to do a paint over of the biggest mistakes I see in your painting, Zilin. And if anyone else have any pointers to Zielin's painting, I would suggest you go and look at Zielin's painting, and maybe you see something that Zielin hasn't thought about. And I think I want to start. I want to start. We should give each other more feedback. We should really be a little bit more supportive in terms of input. I think it's okay to give input. I think it's okay to give your thoughts on a piece. It doesn't necessarily need to mean that they are right, that your painting is has to follow their opinion. But if we don't hear each other's opinions, we also don't necessarily know what other people see in our paintings. And I think that's a really valuable thing to learn and to hear is how someone else sees your art. Because it's a vital part of being a creative, right? Is what everyone else sees rather than what you see. But that being said, you shouldn't compromise what you want to create, right? But it's always good to hear what other people sees in your art. So if we start creating that culture of giving opinion, it's interesting. I think it's beneficial. So what I want to suggest we start doing is that, especially on when someone posts something and we write a comment, how about we try to write one good and one bad thing about the art? Bad being what you consider a weakness, or what you consider a flaw, or what you consider could be improved on, and a good thing being something that struck you interesting, or one of the things why you felt like it's worth that you wanted to write a comment on. And I will do that myself. I will practice that behavior myself, and just by giving feedback. And if everyone start giving that feedback to each other, and we create that culture, we're gonna start helping each other grow in a completely different way than just writing cool, good, awesome, high five, or whatever throwaway comment. But it's always nice to hear a comment that someone likes your art, but it's also good to hear what they like and don't like about your art. And if we have that culture where we share opinion rather than hide the opinion, I think it'll be beneficial. So whenever I post an image now, moving forward, I will try to find someone else who's made a picture that I react to, and I will write a comment after the fact that I posted my art, so that we are not just waiting to be served in that sense. We are actively also giving someone else something, right? Well, the thing is, you don't need to have a massive amount of free time to write a comment. You can write when you post your image. Just scroll up, look at the image before, or scroll up to an image. You write, "Oh, that's really cool image. I really like the way the pose is," or I feel like you could improve the shoulder with a better forms or whatever." And that's it. You know, it doesn't need to be like a paint over. It doesn't need to be a wall of text. Just some thoughts about it. And I think that would if the culture of feedback like that would be established, it would be beneficial to everyone, because not only will you help directly that artist, but indirectly every other artist that reads it, every other artist that joins the conversation, every other artist that will join the conversation after the fact, later on. You know, it would be actually a major knock-on difference in behavior, much more than one would imagine. And the fact that you just spend one more minute writing a comment and all that would happen, I think that's easily a time sacrifice you could do, because it's when it's only you, that different that devotion of time isn't that massive, because you only spend one more extra minute writing a comment. But when everyone else does that extra minute, and if we divide that by a lot of people, that's a lot of extra effort and a lot of extra comments and a lot of extra support between people. Cosmoverse, time is up. Yes, indeed. Captain Bose, yeah, but practice. But writing a wall of text and massive discussion, you won't always have energy to do that. But the fact that you just write a comment, what's one thing that's good, one thing that's bad according to you, I think that's enough. To start with. You know, the rest we can grow into. But if we don't start, we're also not gonna grow from it, you know. Okay, time is up. Let's find someone to rate. Who? Oh, Max. What's Max doing? Pinterest study. Captain Bose. All right. Well, I mean, you could have written, try to, you know, like have a more look at references and have a more expressive pose, or you know, you don't need to. You could write, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of time to express it, but look into this direction, or maybe look at that person, or check out this name." You know. All right, so that's Monday study. What I looked up, what I focused on was color relationship, the temperature, the subtleties. It has its flaws, but I picked up a lot of things from the face, especially. That's what I wanted to focus on. So I feel like the study was worth doing. Have a great day, everyone. Good night if you're that part of the world. See you tomorrow morning. I will try to do your topic in 3D tomorrow. That's going to be exciting. Outro time, then Max Greg raid. Have a good one, everyone.